Hey, I'm live. All right, I gotta around. I guess I could turn it around. I don't know. Does it matter? Does it matter that I can't see? Oh, I figured out how to save these to my camera roll so I can throw these up on YouTube when I'm done. Something that I'm gonna start doing. I've been toying around with an idea. You've always heard this that you become like the 5 people that you hang out with the most, right? So if you hang out with a lot of negative people, if you hang out with like a lot of drunk people, you're more likely to be negative and drunk. And it is true. It is true. Same with your upbringing, like how you were brought up. A lot of times is how you'll end up when you get older. It's this whole sort of idea of propinquity, and propinquity is an interesting thing because it's basically whoever you hang out with, whoever you spend time with, and actually even in when it comes to love, if you hang out with somebody long enough, like a girl or a guy or something like that, a lot of times they'll fall in love with you just because of propinquity, just because over time, as you spend more and more time with people, you get an attraction to them. And also, what can happen is in your brain, I don't know what it's called, but I guess there's some sort of mechanism to where you literally will get intertwined with that other person. And actually, that's what happens in relationships. I think I've talked about that before, where your brain literally gets linked up in a sense. And so when you break up, especially over a long period of time, let's say you've been together like 10 years, it takes a while to get over it. Sometimes you never do because your brain literally has to like rewire itself. I actually heard an interesting thing too that you ever like walk into a place, let's say you're starting a new job, for example, and you're kind of stressed out. Well, a lot of that is because your brain isn't used to all the systems and procedures and the society that you're in right there. So what you have to do is your brain literally has to like create space for these people and for these situations, and so it can be very stressful when you start a new thing. I actually thought about it because I moved a lot as a kid. I actually moved 4 times, and I thought about writing like an ebook about moving. And I've actually moved a lot even since I've been an adult. I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina right now. I've been here 5 years, and I just picked up my fifth address here about 2.5 months ago, and thinking about getting another one actually at this point too. So that'd be 6 addresses in 5 years. But every time I move, I've figured out that it takes about 2 months for you to get used to your new surroundings and whatever it is that you're in. But for those first 2 months, it can be very stressful. I was talking to someone the other day, asked them if they've ever moved. They said they've moved 3 times in their life. And I was like, gosh, this will be my 41st address, actually 41. So I've averaged one a year since I was a kid. A lot of stress that happens. And especially recently when I moved, this one was a little bit easier because it was in town. But I actually remember one time I was moving from Denver to Grand Rapids, took a job in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And actually, on the way to Grand Rapids, my car broke down. It was like a Saturday. And so I ended up getting it like towed to, like a Jiffy Lube or something like that. And they were like, listen, it's going to cost about $1,500 to fix your car. It'll probably take about a week. And I was like, ugh. Like I had to start a job on Monday, and I was like, well, is there anything else you can do? And they're like, well, we could charge it up, and you could go to the car lot. So I ended up, here I'm driving across the country. I ended up having them charge my car up so it could just work for like a couple hours. And I went down to a car lot, and I ended up buying a car. And then I got out, but I'll never forget, I pulled into Grand Rapids. Like I was supposed to get there at like 7 o'clock, and I think I was supposed to have like dinner with my new boss or whatnot. And obviously that didn't happen. I remember calling him, and later on he was like, oh my gosh, is he going to be one of these guys with all these issues, which I think actually kind of was for him. But that was a different period of my life. I'm going to get into that at some point, by the way. But anyway, I'll never forget, this was like before, apps, and I had a cell phone, but like before, map, I think I just had like Yahoo Maps or something like that. And I was trying to find the hotel. It was like 3 in the morning. I'm exhausted. I'm like stressed as you can stressful be. And just when you're in a new town, like you don't know where anything is. You don't have any friends. And in Michigan, they have these things called like Michigan U-turns. Like you can't really take lefts. You have to take these like U-turns and stuff. And I remember pulling into one of those at like 3 in the morning because I can't find my hotel. And I get out and I sit on the roof of my car, and I'm like just frustrated and stressed out. But, you know, you're also stressed because you have no idea where you are. If you've ever been lost. I've actually had that happen a couple times when I moved where I would get lost. I remember one time when I lived in Indiana, I actually moved to Muncie, Indiana, and people are like, horror. I'm so glad, by the way, whoever invented GPS on your phone, because people, this is how people used to give you directions. They'd be like, just take a left at the old red barn. And so you'd be driving looking for like an old red barn, and sure enough, there can't find it. And I remember, so I went back. I was like, you told me to take a left at the old red barn. And they're like, yeah, yeah. And I was like, well, I can't find it. They're like, oh, well, it's not there anymore. It's like, well, you realize I've been in town for a week. How would I know that some barn that existed 2 years ago or 10 years ago where it should be? But anyway, I digress. Propinquity is what I was talking about. I don't even know how I got on this. But anyway, you become like the people that you hang out with. And it's important for you to really monitor who those people are. And it really is. Yeah, I've talked about this before, just going through a breakup and stuff like that. And, you know, the stress that's involved with being in a relationship with a person. A lot of times that stress can kind of tear you down. And I look at the difference even now, 2 months later, of how I was when I was in that relationship and how I am now. And removing that stress out of my life actually kind of made it a lot easier for me to get a lot more done, for one. I actually lost like 16 pounds too, which is funny. I thought that was interesting because we were both kind of in health and fitness. But I just remember my frame at that time too. I was just like constantly stressed. And I remember like she would come home and be stressed, and I would feel that stress, and I'd be like, like I would kind of be in a good mood, and then, you know, and that's propinquity. You know, you sort of absorb the energy of someone else. Now, hey, I'm not saying that I didn't have negative energy as well, and I do sometimes. Even tonight, I was on Uber because I'm an Uber driver just to make some extra money, and I didn't get a fare for like 40 minutes, and I like flipped out. So that's something I'm working on with that. But with propinquity, coming up with this idea of digital propinquity. And, you know, I actually signed up for Tinder, and I've been doing Tinder. And one of the things that I've noticed is that you're sort of building this digital relationship with somebody before you know them. And what's interesting to me is like energies I know can't be transferred through digital. Although sometimes like you can look at somebody who's angry, I guess, so that's an energy. And maybe if they're really angry, you can feel that through digital platforms. I mean, I know movies and stuff, you know, the whole idea is to sort of evoke emotion for you. And even in radio, I'm a radio DJ. You know, one of my big things is to try to evoke emotion whenever I'm speaking through the thing. But this whole idea of becoming like people who you hang out with, if you can do it on a digital level, and what that means, like I watch a lot of different people on YouTube, for example. And you can sort of see their enthusiasm. You can see their energy. And then when you listen to them and listen to what they've learned and that sort of thing, do you become like those people as you continually watch and learn from them? And I would say probably yes. I mean, even if you're, like, let's say you're big into Tony Robbins, for example. You know, you buy his videos, you buy his packages, and you're listening to his stuff, you know, his tapes and watching his videos and stuff like that. I think over time you do sort of emulate those kinds of people. One of the guys that I like to watch is a guy named Tyler, who's RSD, Real Social Dynamics. I've watched his videos for a year. Actually, interesting story. There's a book out by Neil Strauss called The Game. And I picked up this book like maybe 3 years ago, and it was actually an audio book, and I was so blown away by the content but in the book he mentions this guy Tyler Durbin, who is obviously, it's a fake name. His name's Owen Cook, and I started looking at his videos, and a lot of it's geared towards guys and, you know, ways to relate with women and pick up community and stuff like that. So it's very fascinating stuff, which, by the way, a lot of that stuff works. I'm not like a go out and like pick up, 20 women kind of guy. That's not kind of my thing. But it's interesting information because what it kind of taught me how to do is how to relate, I guess, with women a little better, and also how to, like, even with my show, like ways to evoke emotion in women and men for that matter. And so it was very valuable information. But what I noticed a lot of times is that after watching a lot of his videos, I would actually emulate some of the stuff that he did, like the way that he talked and that sort of thing. So this whole idea of digital propinquity. Now, am I like him? I don't know. I mean, I think I've learned a lot from him, and I've been able to incorporate it into my own personality, but I'm not 100% sure if I would be considered like him. But one of the other people that I've been watching a lot of his stuff, and I actually bought one of his programs on YouTube, is Ty Lopez. He's the guy that, and a lot of people make fun of him, but I think he's cool as hell. The Lamborghini. You see his videos on YouTube where he's standing in front of a Ferrari and a Lamborghini, and the one I saw, he pulled up in a Lamborghini. What was funny is I actually bought his program before I even saw his YouTube videos, which it's interesting because a lot of these programs, they do sort of pitch it as a, this is what you can get if you follow my system or follow my ideas. And with his, it's true, like you really could. But what's funny about his system is like it's hard. Like it's basically work. You got to work hard. But I really like his stuff. He's really good. He reads a book a day. That's his kind of big thing. But really what it comes down to is not even just reading a book a day as much as it's, learning. You need to constantly learn to be better. So even today, like I was on YouTube and I was watching, because I told you I was an Uber driver. So I've been watching a lot of Travis. I don't remember his last name. Kaspernick or something like that. Whoever founded Uber. And it's interesting, he's 38 years old, and he's been building companies since he was like 18. And one of the companies that he built, he said, like, got taken apart in a in a court. He like built this company, and like literally in 20 minutes it got auctioned off in a court. I thought that was interesting. Oh, he also told an interesting story. If you ever saw The Social Network, he said he was replaced by a Asian girl, but that scene when they're in the restaurant with Sean Parker, he was with them during that thing, and he said that after he met Mark Zuckerberg, he was like 20 at the time, they actually like snuck into a club that night and like got real drunk. But he said he called his girlfriend and was like, I met the most interesting 20-year-old. So I thought that was funny. But what was interesting is just like if you watch him, you watch his energy, you watch what he's excited about. And here Uber, I mean, it started in like 2009. So here it's 2015. It's been 6 years. It's like worth like $20 billion right now. And obviously a lot of people know about Uber. As a driver, it's been an interesting experience because, one, it was a great way for me to make some extra money. I probably should be driving right now, but I'm actually kind of upset at Uber right now because this is the thing. They have guarantees, but it's kind of bullshit. They don't really have guarantees. They basically, the guarantees are like, these are the prime times that you'll be driving, but you have to have a certain amount in order to get the guarantees. But if you like miss a call, so like last time I missed like one call, so I didn't get any of the guarantees for the night. So like, and then, but the other thing is they give you, it's people giving you the calls. So if you don't get it from them, they don't give you your guarantee either. So but that's whatever. It's actually a pretty good company, especially if you're looking for some side money. But just like anything in life, if someone's promising you that you're going to make thousands and thousands of dollars and it's super easy, it's like any like social marketing company. Everyone's like, just sign up and sell this stuff, and you'll be a multi-millionaire. And it's like, yeah, you'll be a multi-millionaire if you work 100 hours a week. Okay, that's the bottom line of that. But anyway, this whole idea of watching his videos, trying to learn what he did, coming up with this concept, because the concept is brilliant. I think it is. I mean, they have no overhead. It's just an infrastructure. It's an app system. As a driver, I get 80% of the fare. That's the way it works. I work for myself. I can go on and off whenever I want. So it is kind of an interesting concept. KKCJI, if you sign up and use my code. Although I was looking at I didn't know this, but on the website, they because I've signed up a lot of people, but now they got to do like 30 runs. But a lot of people that I've signed up, like they do it for like a day and then they stop doing it. And I think part of it is, it's a little bit embarrassing. I actually picked up the program director of my competitor and took him home one night, and it was actually kind of funny because we were in the car for like 20 minutes, and it was a good conversation. But you know, I mean, the reason I actually started Ubering in the first place was I was engaged at the time, and I was wanting to help out the household and the stress of money and stuff like that. And so I was working all the time. So I'd like go do my morning show. A couple of times I would go out on Thursday night. So I'd like go out Thursday night till 3 a.m., come home and like sleep for an hour and a half, go back in at 5 a.m., do a morning show, and then do my job as a manager for the entire day, go home, sleep, get up at like 6 p.m. and get on the road again till like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. and then do it again on Saturday. And I was like killing myself. So it's like I look at the relationship I was in and be like, oh, maybe it is good I'm not in that, because a lot of that money was going to the household and trying to help out. Now actually I have a lot of that money, so I haven't been Ubering as much because I really financially been doing pretty good. So, but I guess. But anyway, getting back to Travis and what he did and his infrastructure and all that, it's very fascinating. And what he went through and can you learn through him, and his experiences. This whole idea of having like a digital mentor. Ty Lopez talks about having mentors and with YouTube. The thing about YouTube I think is fascinating is I've learned like so much from YouTube, just from not only from a personal development point of view, but like how to cut a pineapple, and or how to grill a steak. I mean, just stupid stuff, just everyday boring stuff in life is something that I'll go to YouTube and just try to learn. And really, like at this point in my life, I'm trying to accelerate my learning. I'm trying to like learn a lot more, and then like try to apply what I learn a lot quicker than I do. I'm actually to a place right now where I've like cut out all television. Although I do watch Wayward Pines, I think that's a great show. But it's like 2 episodes left, so I'll be done with it. It's the whole idea of like, TV. You're just kind of just wasting your time. Especially like if you have a lot of stress in your life and then you just go watch TV all night and then go to bed, which is what I was doing when I was engaged. Like that's all we did. We would just be stressed, watch TV all night, go to bed, wake up, stress, come home and watch TV. And with TV's like a drug. It like literally, of course, then on top of it, people drank and do drugs with it. So it's like, you get yourself in this lower mind state, and there you go. You're, just like zombie. You're like a zombie, which ironically, I would watch The Walking Dead. Little sidebar. I've been exercising and running. I have these woods behind my house, and I do what's called a zombie run, where I think I explained this before, but basically where I go in the woods and I run as fast as I can, like I'm being chased by a zombie. But it's a good way to lose weight. Anyway, even losing weight, I a couple of years ago I wanted to get in really good shape, and so what I did was got on YouTube and came across a couple of folks. One of them was Elliot Houston. I never say names right. I'm sorry, but he's got some good stuff. He's actually got a couple of good channels too. He's got the non-job, and then he's got his weight training stuff. And actually before him, and again, I don't know where they found this, but I found this system called the Adonis system. And I actually still use that because it's a lot of body weight stuff, and I got some elbow issues. I was lifting for a while, kind of heavy, and I kind of hurt my elbow pretty good. So now I've just been doing like body weight and cardio and that sort of thing. I'm down to like 173, something like that, 75. Who knows? I haven't weighed myself in a while, but doing that, and then eating right. You got to eat right. Honestly, I haven't been drinking pretty much this entire year. I mean, I have, like, I did go out like last weekend. I had a pretty crazy night, and it's funny because I talked about that lower self sort of thing, like with watching TV and drinking and drugs and all that. And a lot of times I do revert. Like I'll have like a bad day, like a bad stressful day, and like my first thought is to go drink, and I've done that. I don't do it as much. I used to do it all the time. I can remember actually when I lived in Muncie, I was really depressed at one point in my life, and that was there. I was in Muncie, Indiana. Actually, I lived in Newcastle, Indiana, I always describe it like this: Newcastle, Indiana, they had a prison, and they had graveyards. It was like per capita it had more graveyards, places. So basically, my point was, you go to Newcastle to die. Is what you did. I was there like 4 months and walked out on that job, just because I was so depressed. I was so depressed at that time. Honestly, I had a girlfriend at that time, and if it wasn't for her, I probably would have killed myself. I mean, that's how depressed I was. And I remember thinking when I was in that state, when I was like super depressed, like, is there a way to get out of this? And that was really when I started kind of doing the whole self-help thing. I think I read The Secret, or I had already read that book actually, and really liked how I felt. I remember I had the movie actually. I think my mom sent me the movie, because I remember even in Newcastle I would watch it. And I would like watch it over and over again. But also in Newcastle, like I would drink. Like I was drinking all the time. I was like 2:30 one night. This is a funny story. I was with my girlfriend at her house. I was out of a job, by the way, living with her and her family. And it was creepy because I was like 11 years older than she was. And I was sitting on her bed trying to put my socks on. And like I couldn't reach my feet because I was so fat. And I blamed the socks. I was like, it's the faulty socks. That's why I can't reach my feet. No, it's because I was fat. That girl, by the way, if she ever watches this, that girl saved my life. She really did. She was an amazing girl. It's funny because I live in Wilmington, North Carolina, and she's got a cousin that lives here in town. And he knew like all that stuff about me. And so here, like I'm in Wilmington now. I'm like a morning show host. I'm manage a radio station, and like if I go out, like people know who I am. It's kind of cool. And he's known me for years because obviously he knew I dated his cousin and stuff. Because even when I first moved here, I think we all went out to lunch one time, and we've actually done stuff together. He runs a marathon here in town. Like he runs it like it's his marathon, and so we've helped like partner up with him in promotional and stuff. But, like, he always looks at me like, you're that dude that lived in the basement. Like, he knows because it was his family. Like, it was his side of the family because they were cousins. So, I was actually at his brother's wedding. But anyway, it's just funny because he's a big runner, too, and I run. And a lot of times we'll just cross paths. And he always kind of looks at me like, you're that fat, depressed guy that was living in my cousin's basement. The other thing about like his cousin is like she was like model hot. I think she is a model. Like she's like a promotional model. Like if you ever go to like football games and stuff, there's really hot women that are out like trying to sell you stuff or whatever, giving you free polo shirts. That's what she does. But anyway, digital propinquity and the idea of watching like what Travis does and sort of mannerisms, constantly learning. And what if you just surrounded yourself, around these people on YouTube, which is, by the way, a lot of this stuff is free, and just constantly was learning and learning and learning, would you then become more like them? Is that what would happen with you? And, it's interesting because I know a lot of people do videos and stuff, and I'm not sure how honest they are. I think they are. I think they're pretty honest because I think they're pretty grounded, but like, one of the reasons why I like to do these things is because I still have a lot of issues. Like I have a lot of emotional issues still where I get like angry. I do get depressed, and like these guys never talk about that stuff. So I got to think either they might talk about how they used to do it, but they don't really do it anymore, So if after time, if watching these guys and watching their stuff, if over time it'll be like, oh, now I've outgrown that, if you ever do outgrow it. I actually had a great conversation with a coworker today about stress, and like complaining in the workplace because it's like, oh yeah, we hate this, we hate that. But, it just sort of came to the conclusion that like, and even like watching this Travis thing today and like having his company like taken away from him and sold, it's like, and then he's talking about other lawsuits he's had. It's like, I think stress is just part of it, and it's easy to complain about it. It's easy to just be like, and it's almost like default. I know for me, it can just like consume me sometimes, where sometimes I'll just constantly be thinking about like, what's wrong, what's wrong. But then sometimes I'll take a step back and go, well, there's actually kind of a lot right too. There's a lot that you do like. If you've heard of your reticular activation system, this whole idea that what you like focus on is what you get, and then even the law of attraction is kind of like that. Like you attract what you are, you attract what you are, not what you want. That's one thing about the law of attraction I notice is like you can sit there and be like, oh yeah, I would like to have a big beach house and a yacht and a harem of beautiful women, which I would like to have all those things, by the way. But obviously I don't, because it's hard to attract something that you don't have any sort of relationship with already. You kind of attract what you are, and a lot of what you learn, once you learn it, then you start attracting that, right? Because you attract what you are, you attract what you know, and that sort of thing. So if, for example, you want to be a Forex trader and you've learned a lot about it, and you look at Fibonacci charts and you understand the way it works, then obviously you're going to attract success because you know the right way to do something. Really, an easier example of that is, I think weight loss and working out is a good example for like any aspect of life, because if you want to be successful in weight loss, it's really easy. It is like the super easiest thing to do. You get on a diet and you work out. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. And a lot of people make it harder. They're like, oh, I can't because of the way my bones are, or, my metabolism. But it's like, listen, doesn't matter. You get on a diet, you work out, you're going to lose weight. It's science, it's math. And really even relationships, But what happens in weight loss, a lot of times people are like, oh, I can't do it. And it's like, well, you're right. You can't. And even in relationships, it's like, if you want your relationship to be successful, which, by the way, I had a great idea today. And if someone takes this from me because I broadcasted it, I will sue you. But because I got on Tinder actually yesterday. Yesterday I was at a party, by the way, and it was for a coworker who's getting married. And I asked him, I said, well, how did you meet your girl? And he said, well, I met her on OkCupid. I was like, oh, that's cool. I said, because I just checked out that app like 2 days ago, but just didn't really do much with it. And I said, all right, well, I'll check it out. So I was at this party and we're kind of having fun. So I checked it out and put it down and stuff. And it got me thinking and I'm reading a book right now, and I think I've talked about this before, like kind of this relationship book. It's called The Way of a Superior Man by David Dieta. And which, by the way, stresses me out because, like, after I read this book, I, like, looked at my past relationship with my fiance that I just broke up with, and I'm like, oh, okay, I see everything that I did wrong in that relationship. Ironically, if I would have read that book a year ago, we'd still be together, because now I know exactly what to do. But although, honestly, a lot of what's in that book, and I'll talk about that book at some point because it's really fascinating. A lot of it is core principle, is core like purpose, in the sense of being a man. And part of being a man is that you gotta have a core purpose. And right now, I'm kind of in a limbo area. The whole in the middle of failure kind of thing. Although I think I'm successful in a lot of aspects of my life, I'm definitely in like a transition, especially with everything I'm learning. I'm trying to figure out how to implement it, which is actually part of why I'm doing this Periscope thing and putting this stuff on YouTube is really, I don't expect anyone to even watch this. I just do it because I'm trying to get better at it. Because if this can be something that I can branch off into a life, that's what I would like to do. This is what I feel like I could give to the world, and I'm sure I've said that before. But anyway, to say, well, if I read this book a year ago, that I'd still be in that relationship, that's probably not true, because a lot of what went wrong in that relationship were principles that I read in this book, but it's also a lot of stuff that I don't think I would have executed anyway, just because I just don't think I'm there. Even it was funny because I actually talked to my fiance yesterday, and she said something about me being unstable, and I thought that was a good point, because I was unstable, just in the sense of you know, where is my career going in this limbo, where I am at right now, this sort of limbo state. It's like, you know, I love my career. You know, should I keep doing it because I'm not I'm not growing. You know, I'm not like, no one's offering me twice as much money, and I'm Ubering on the side to, you know, do that. You know, and so and then when I'm learning all these business principles and stuff like that, and learning how to apply it, and then, you know, what's my core belief? What am I trying to do? So the point is maybe if it was in 5 years from now, that relationship would have been successful. But I mean, she hit it on the head. Stability, and in the sense of, I don't have that core confidence, I guess would be a good way to put it. Or in the book, he talks about, you have to have a way. You got to have a direction as a man. You got to know what your purpose is on this planet, and that's something that I'm sort of in limbo with right now. So that's why I'm doing the video too, because this is something I enjoy doing, and part of the discussion and a lot of this is just get started. You know, just get started in something you enjoy. Because a lot of times I'll read a lot of this stuff and then I just kind of don't implement it. You know, it's like people who go to college, you know, and get a degree and like art literature, and then they become a waitress or a waiter. You know, it's like, well, you're not implementing what you just learned, which makes no sense because you're paying it back. I'm actually reading another book right now called The Education of Millionaires, and he's all like anti-college. I'll do a thing on anti-college one time because I think that's interesting, because I got my degree in broadcast management, and I'm a broadcast manager, so, you know, technically I used my information. Although when I was in college, they really didn't have radio. There was more TV, so most of my stuff was TV. And I was an anchor, too, for a little bit when I graduated. But the thing I noticed, actually, I was a TA because I'd had so much radio experience, because I started when I was 17. I was a TA for the radio portion, for this class, because it was like a radio class, before I took it. And he actually had me like do all the air checks and stuff like that, because he didn't have a whole lot of radio experience that I had. So it's kind of funny. But anyway. My point with the college thing is that I've had one manager in my entire career. In my 24-year career, I've had one manager ever bring up my degree, and it's because he went there, Washington State University. I mean, I wouldn't change it for anything, but like honestly, you know, when I graduated in '96, so '92 to '96, they didn't have the debt. I mean, that was one of my fiance, she was 10 years younger than me. The amount of debt that she took on to get an accounting degree, I mean, that's a scam. I mean, I felt bad for her. The amount of money she has to pay a month to work is just ridiculous. And I know a lot of people in that boat too. So I don't know if that'll change. You see a lot. Ty Lopez, kind of the same thing. He didn't go to college, and this Education of Millionaires book, a lot of those people didn't go to college, and they're millionaires and do that. So sort of the college scam. What did someone the other day was talking about how, you know, if you went to Walmart and bought something and they didn't allow you to take it back and get your money back, like, that's a scam. And that's college. Like, college, you literally have to pay all this money to get a job. But if you don't get a job, you can't go back and be like, hey, can you give me my money back because I didn't get a job? That's not the way it works. You still have to pay it back. I thought that was funny. That's a good way to put it. My dad, thankfully, paid for my college. But even my college, like, at the time, it was like $2,200 a year. I mean, it was nothing compared to what I mean, they're paying. I was on this set. I did a TV commercial about a month ago. And this girl, 17, she wanted to be an actress. And she's going to college. And I'm like, why are you going to college? You want to be an actress? Go act. Like, go do auditions. But people still think college is an experience, I guess, which my understanding of college right now is it's basically booze and Adderall, but whatever. But she got into one of the prestigious schools in New York. I forgot what it was called. But anyway, $70,000 a year for college is what it costs. So I was like, all right, so $70,000, let's say you do it in 4 years, it's $280,000 plus books, which, did you know this? If you go to college right now and buy a book, like, they're like $200 for a book. That's ridiculous. Like, if anyone charged me $200 for a book, like, it better be like have some gold in it or something like that. Anyway, so that's $280,000. So does that mean when you graduate, you're guaranteed a job of $1 million, because that would be a good ROI. If you're not, why would you pay that money? That is crazy. That is absolutely insane. But like, our groupthink society is like, oh yeah, that's perfectly normal. I'm like, that's normal? It's normal to put a kid almost 300 grand in debt? And then like, how would you ever pay that back? I mean, I guess maybe it's just for people who are rich. You know, she actually didn't go because it cost so much money. I think even she said she got a scholarship, which I guess somebody else would pay it, and it was still only going to be $15,000 a year, and that was still way too much. But it's like, yeah, still that's 60 grand. 60 grand you got to pay back. I had a roommate who was a dentist. He said he had like 110 grand to become a dentist. It's like, so you make good money, but like, you know, what, 110, maybe he makes 110 a year. I don't know. What does a dentist make? Maybe he makes 70 a year, but you know, you got other bills and stuff. I just got to think that he's paying that off for 30 years. So they basically give you a mortgage once you graduate. But anyway, digital propinquity. So you become like those that you watch and you learn about and that sort of thing. So I'm going to give it a try. I mean, it's something I've been doing for a while, actually, and I think it has made me better. I think it has taught me a lot, you know, and I do enjoy it. Although I think sometimes, like, I don't always implement what I'm supposed to implement, and so that'll be part of the test. But all right, thanks for joining me today. That's my broadcast. I like this Periscope. I think it's a cool little app. Oh, I forgot I was going to tell you my app idea. Don't steal this. But I'm like Tinder, and I'm on OkCupid, which I don't know. It's weird for me to. I don't really want to meet anybody right now, which is kind of funny. I mean, honestly, and the other thing about a lot of these apps is I don't like the idea of like being qualified. Like I like, one of the things I like about like this whole RSD thing is like the idea of like me kind of picking the girl, I guess. Does that make sense? Because otherwise I just don't want to waste my time, if you know, because a lot of people have so many issues and stresses. It's like I got my own stuff to deal with. But anyway, what if you had an app, like a dating website app that actually gave you relationship advice? Because you know what, 50% of relationships end in divorce, you know, and I think it's even higher now. And after reading this book, the Superior Man book, that was kind of where I got the idea, because it's like a lot of this stuff there. If I would have had a lot of that information when I was engaged, again, I don't know if I'd still be engaged, but I think it would have helped. Definitely would have helped the situation. But even that, like our stresses that we had to deal with, you know, how to deal with that. You know, a lot of people deal with cheating. Why does cheating occur? You know, I've read a lot of stuff about that. I've actually been interested in relationships kind of my whole life. I was really religious one time, and they had some really good relationship stuff in there. And at one point, I was, and I've always been fascinated with relationships. I just have. It's, you know, the way that we react to one another and the way that we treat each other and that sort of thing. But even romantic relationships have always been fascinating to me. And how to make them work. You know, how do you deal with... Because at this point, I don't know how to make them work because I'm single, right? So there you go. I mean, that's proof. I do not know how to make it work. But like my brother's been with the same girl for like 20 some odd years. And so obviously he's got to have some information. But why not implement that into a dating website? So it's like, hey, listen, here's some tips. Here's some tools that you can use to help you in your dating life in ways to be successful. This way of a superior man, one thing I really like about it is like a lot of the information in that, like once I read it, I looked back at my relationship and I was like, holy moly, like this is what I was doing wrong. And if I would have had that information like now, which I do have it now, I guess my next relationship is going to be awesome. But even stuff like how to manage stress, it almost kind of like, it's a dating app, but it gives you like personal development stuff, like just how to deal with people and stress and that sort of thing. And, you know, but anyway, that's my idea. Who knows? Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I won't. Anyway, have a good night. We'll see you later.